Welcome back, everyone, to another fantastic episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. I am one of your hosts, Professor Chris G, and on the other line with me is the slacker of the group. Oh, I'm going to catch for that one. It's good old Dougie Fresh. Dougie, my man, how you doing?
I'm offended, but I'm also remembering I was supposed to ask you about something while we were on break, and I'll have to get you when we wrap up.
So you're a slacker.
Apparently, but I take no responsibility. I blame the cold, really. I think my brain's still out.
Your body's catching up to you outside. It'll be back inside in about 40 minutes when we're done with the show.
Well, it's hell to get old, don't
So, all right. So we're back. It's a nice little twofer that we got going on here. We're going over the next two episodes of the Johto series, and we are starting with Fighting Flyer with Fire. Try saying that 5 times fast. Can you do it?
Yeah, for real. No, I can't do it. I can barely say it once.
And the next one right after that is For Crying Out Loud. Both of these episodes are pretty straightforward episodes. We actually have a gym battle in this first episode, and I am excited to go over that because it's always exciting going over a gym battle in the Pokemon series, bro.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for this episode in particular because I feel like a lot of gym battle episodes, they just kind of like waste half the episode and then it's like, oh yeah, we promised you a gym battle. It's like, no, this one, it's like once we establish, who the leader is, it's like, oh no, we're just going to battle the rest of the episode. So this should be really straightforward.
For real, bro. Like I think from here on out, they kind of understand, okay, gym battles equals ratings. And what do these kids want? We can at least give them some hardcore Pokemon battles for these for these gym episodes going forward.
Some hardcore battles, really?
Yeah, some hardcore battles. So
that got me.
Because for this one, what do we have? What was it? A Charizard versus a Pidgeot in this episode?
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, you want a battle, do you?"
We'll give you a damn battle. And I was like, "Oh, okay." So, Fighting Flyer with Fire premiered in Japan on January 20th of 2000, and here in the States, December 16th of 2000. And then the next episode, which is titled For Crying Out Loud, premiered in Japan on January 27th of 2000, and here in the States on January 20th of 2001. Wow, they took like a 4-week break from new episodes. We went from December 16th all the way to January 20th without a new episode of Pokemon. So yeah, a month and 4 days, 5 days.
Damn, I'd be going through withdrawals.
I think we were. You know what I've caught myself doing, bro? And this might not pertain to a lot of people, but it bugs me so much because it's become like a fidget of mine when we're doing the show or if I'm working or something. I'll have a pen in my hand, okay?
Uh-huh.
Tell me why I'm doing the Pat McAfee toss up the pen and catching it between my fingers.
Because you're watching him on Raw, and you're like, I could do that
shit. And I do it, and it's like a fidget. Like I'll be doing, I'm sure every once in a while, like if you like really, really listen to the episodes, I'm sure you could hear it every once in a while in the background because you'll just hear a click. And then you'll be like, oh, he's playing with the pen again. Yes, that's what I'm doing when you hear those clicks.
Oh, you could have played that off. I was like, no, he's taking notes.
Yeah, it's become a little fidget of mine, and I feel okay to talk about it on the podcast because I mean we don't do videos, so it's just a matter of you listening to the show.
No,
So
thankfully we don't, because I'd have to put on pants.
so all right, but okay. So I'm going to one thing I didn't do in the last episode that I need to do. So fighting flyer with fire. The Japanese title of this episode is Kikyou Gym Sky Battle, and the Japanese title for crying out loud is Crybaby Maril.
I don't hate that for the marrow, and I don't. I mean, Kikyo. I mean, that has to be the Japanese for Violet City.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I don't hate those.
I don't hate them either. I mean, one thing I've learned with Japanese titles is they're like straight to the point. Like, what is the episode about? Right here. you're
Yeah,
gonna
like
you're gonna have a sky battle.
there's no reason to be cute. Like, let's fucking go.
What's going on in this episode? You have a crybaby Marrow. That's what you have.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, these episodes are pretty straightforward. Don't really have too much of a preamble for this week. Outside of me talking about doing the Pat McAfee pen catch in my hand as I'm doing while I'm saying it right now.
Why don't we have a preamble, Chris?
Because we're doing a twofer.
Because we've only stopped recording for like 5 minutes.
Yes. So if you listen to the last episode and then this episode, you're probably listening to them back to back because we were like, let's be nice to our fans and give them 2 episodes this week. So that's what we're doing. So we're going ahead and dropping a twofer for you, just a day apart from each other, so you guys can have something nice to listen to for this upcoming weekend and for the upcoming week starting next week. So there you go. But all right, bro. Are you ready to go ahead and jump on into these episodes?
Absolutely.
All right, my brother. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the episode on my end. One thing I'm not used to is, since we've been doing Horizons, is having the theme song like right at the beginning of the episode.
For real, bro.
Instead of putting it like 3 or 4 minutes into the episode. Like I'm like, oh, let's go. All right, let's just fast forward this episode by 1 minute and 1 second and get on in. So, but all right, so we are still in Violet City, and Ash is standing right in front of the Violet City gym, and they are looking up, and this building looks like a hotel. This building is huge, bro.
Yeah. I mean, they don't want any mistakes that it might potentially be a gym. They're like, no, I mean, because they've had some kind of like low key buildings, and it's like, oh, this is the gym. It's like, this is the gym. Like, let's.
Yes. So we start this. Yes, our heroes are walking up, and they're like, man, I'm about to go in there and I'm about to battle for my first Johto badge. And then out of nowhere, we have Jesse and James appear, and they are disguised as what would you call these people? I see on Bulbapedia they're called surveyors.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I had a word for them and I just lost it.
Oh, I'm sorry, bro.
I mean, judges isn't the right word, but like basically they're Pokemon officials, and
Of the
they're like,
Pokemon Bureau.
So we have to make sure that your Pokemon are eligible, so they can enter and they're legal to be used in a gym battle. I mean, it falls apart as soon as you start describing it, because why is Ash just finding out about this in the Johto region?
Exactly.
After he's
So
Completely gone through the Kanto.
so of course they take Pikachu, even though Ash can use more than one Pokemon in this Pokemon gym. They take Pikachu and they go trying to fly away in their good old Meowth balloon. And then Pikachu, of course, tries to do Thunder Shock, but it fails because they have an electric proof case over the balloon. So, yay! So, what does Ash do? He sends out his Heracross to go and save Pikachu. Doug?
Because we haven't seen Heracross in a minute. Other than I think he was there briefly playing with the kids. Um,
He was, yes.
so Meowth sees Heracross coming from a mile away, and he's like, "I've got the perfect thing for him." And he drops a jar of sap, and Heracross is like, "Oh, bet!" And um, Ash, they're like, "Oh crap!" And then they notice something hanging from the balloon, and um, it's a hang glider, and
Yes.
all of a sudden we see the hang glider tell the Hoot Hoot, or tell his Hoot Hoot rather, I'm sorry, to go in and snatch the case that has Pikachu. And at first Ash is like, well, that sneaky sneak took Pikachu from Team Rocket. And then like he's like, I think he's coming this way. And like
He just goes and gives Pikachu right back.
it doesn't dawn on Ash that this guy's friendly until he has Pikachu back, and then he's like, "Oh, like he thought like this was like a lawless town where you could just get mugged twice on the street and nobody bats an eyelash." Um, basically, um, Arbok or Jesse's Arbok uses Poison Sting and to try to
Fend off.
down the hang glider, and but the trainer, the hang glider, well, you can call him a trainer because he's got Pokemon, for goodness sakes,
Yes.
sends out his Pidgeot to catch, because he does start falling, and this Pidgeot's there in the nick of time, and basically sends the poison stings back towards Team Rocket, and Team Rocket has been dealt with. Like, and that has to be one of the quickest, like, from appearance to blasting off that we've had in a while.
For real. And the guy, like, he gives Pikachu back over to Ash, and Ash kind of reminisces for like a brief second, because he's like, man, he's like, you have a Pidgeot? He's like, that reminds me of my Pidgeot. And when I had a Pidgeot, I fought a Pharaoh back in the day, back in Viridian Forest. And they kind of reminisced about talking about their flying Pokemon. And then the guy introduces himself as Falconer, the Violet City gym leader.
Some trainers need to smarten up and see how great water Pokemon really are.
These are my friends, Misty and Brock, and I'm Ash.
And I'm Faulkner, the Violet City gym leader. Hi.
Did you say gym leader?
That's what he said.
Yeah, maybe I should have mentioned that sooner. This is a little weird. I don't usually make friends with the Pokemon trainers who come here before I have to battle with them. But a match is a match, right? And we have to battle hard, friends or not.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, this is it.
And everyone's like, you're the gym leader? What? So Falconer then invites everybody into the Pokemon gym to go and give them a tour, because Ash admits that he's there to battle Falconer for what do we ever find out what the name of this gym badge is? Oh, it's the Zephyr badge, right?
The Zephyr. Yeah.
Zephyr badge. And he says that he's there to fight the gym leader, and that he's trying to go to the Johto League. And Faulkner is like, "Oh, so you're here to battle me? Well, okay. Let's go in and start our battle." And it's as simple as that we are basically shoved right into the gym battle, which will last the rest of the episode, bro.
Yeah, like, okay, so you have the episode in front of you. Where are we at time-wise with the episode?
So let me get the timing down. So gym battle starting is at 8:22.
So we basically got a 12-minute, there is like one commercial break in there. But yeah, no frills. I mean, we do get a little bit of backstory because I think at one point Brock asked Faulkner why he likes flying Pokemon so much, and he basically gives the stock answer of every little boy. He's like, "Oh, I've always wanted to fly ever since I was a little child," and
it's so freeing.
Like when I'm with my flying Pokemon and I'm on their backs, I can feel the clouds. And I mean, you saw how at ease he was when he was riding Pidgeot there. I mean, yeah, it was a little stressful, but like as soon as he knew he was safe when Pidgeot caught him, he was like, it was almost like second nature. So pardon me.
So I mean, in this, and we finally have a gym leader that can speak some common sense into Ash, bro. So kind of. So he's like, okay, we are going to have our Pokemon battle, and then I'm going to use my Hoot as the first Pokemon. And then Ash is like, okay, well, then I'm going to send out my Chikorita. And first off, Chikorita kind of embarrasses him because as soon as Chikorita comes out, it's not ready to battle. It wants to snuggle with Ash. And Faulkner looks over at Ash and is like, dude, why are you using a grass Pokemon that is weak to flying? I told you that I am a flying type trainer. And you're sending out a Pokemon that's weak and that's giving yourself a disadvantage right off the bat.
Bad choice. I thought you of all people would have known that grass Pokemon are weak against flying Pokemon. How could you forget that if you used to have a Pidgeot?
Yeah? Well, I thought you of all people would have known that you don't always judge by type.
And Ash, he's like, I'm not like everyone else, and you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. I slapped my head. I was like, bro, no, you can't judge a book by its cover. But one, your Chikorita is not a high level. You just caught this Chikorita, and two, you're fighting a high level gym leader, bruh.
Like this is the guy that's just as comfortable like in the air as he is on. You're totally above your head here.
Yeah, so Chikorita starts off trying to Vine Whip Hoothoot, but Hoothoot, of course, just ends up dodging, and Chikorita starts getting frantic and just starts trying to hit Hoothoot, but Hoothoot keeps dodging. And then Hoothoot is like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm going to come over and start pecking your butt. And just goes peck. And Chikorita's like, ow, that hurts. Oh my gosh. And Chikorita, what's the next move that Chikorita used? Chikorita uses Razor Leaf, and then Hoothoot dodges, and then goes in and tackles Chikorita, and Chikorita's down for the count. So Ash already lost. He lost.
Like that. I mean, Chikorita basically used up all its energy, using the attacks, and all Hoothoot had to do was use its basically evasiveness, and was like, "Oh, you're basically gassed. I can just get you with one tackle, and you're out."
Yeah.
So then Ash, sends out Pikachu, and Hoot Hoot tries to use the same strategy, but to give Ash credit on this segment, Pikachu has the agility advantage.
Yes, and it uses it, and it avoids the tackle attack that frickin' Chikorita just endured.
And Ash is able to get Pikachu to use a Thunderbolt and is able to hit the finishing blow with a quick attack. And then Faulkner once again surprises the group by throwing out Dodrio. And they're like, well, that's not a flying Pokemon. And Faulkner's like, haha, watch this shit.
Yeah, he sits there. Well, he brings it out, and when he brings out Dodrio, and they're like, no, that's not a flying Pokemon. And he's like, he's like, you should use your own words and not judge a book by its cover. And everyone's like, did he teach his Dodrio to fly? And then
they were like so on the back foot. But then Faulkner kind of puts his foot in his mouth, and he's like, well, nobody's ever defeated my Dodrio.
Yeah. And Dodrio, literally, what it does is it can't fly, but it has the ability to jump so high that even though it can't fly, it might as well be flying with as high as it can jump. And it just flies straight up into the air and attacks Pikachu with a whole bunch of Fury attacks and Drill Peck.
And it seems like Dodrio is going in for the final blow because he's loading up his Tri attack, and Pikachu is able to bounce off of the middle head of the Dodrio, and that knocks Dodrio out of focus just long enough, and Pikachu is able to take advantage of the confusion and defeat Dodrio with Thunder.
And what a massive thunder it is. Pikachu just laid it to that Dodrio, and Dodrio just falls to the ground. The way that it just face plants, it literally, it's like, I am done, and just falls straight on its face.
So
it does the Ric Flair flop.
It does the flare flop. Yeah, I had Ric Flair in parentheses.
Did you really?
Yeah.
So of course, it's now the end of going towards the end of the battle. It's the final Pokemon, and he sends out Pidgeot, and Brock and Misty look at Ash, and they're like, hey, Ash, you might want to call Pikachu back. Pikachu is extremely tired. And Ash looks over at Pikachu and is like, Pikachu, is that true? Do you want to come back? And Pikachu's like, no, I want to continue the battle. And
I ain't no bitch.
Yeah, it shakes his head off, and then it just jumps into the battle, and Pikachu starts using its Thunder Shock, but Pidgeot flies way too high and dodges it was Thunder Shock, right? Yeah.
It was, yeah.
And it does not hit the Pidgeot at all, and everyone is just stunned. And it's at this point that Pidgeot starts using its Whirlwind attack and ends up defeating Pikachu by blowing it over with its Whirlwind. And then,
I mean, Pikachu was absolutely gassed. I mean,
yeah, it was. So
I had a question.
Yeah, what's that?
Because like you said, Brock and Misty were like, "Yo, Pikachu's gassed. You might want to swap it." So it's a 3-on-3 battle.
Yes.
Obviously, Chikorita was defeated. Hoot Hoot's defeated. Dodrio's defeated. If
Pikachu's defeated.
If Pikachu, well, he is now, but if Ash would have listened to them and called Pikachu back,
Pikachu would have been able to rest.
I was going to say, he could have kind of, let Pikachu kind of sit out and saw how, because, I mean, spoiler alert, Ash throws out Charizard, and he could have seen how, Charizard did, and if the worst would have happened, Pikachu could have maybe come in for the sneak finish. but instead of having that in his back pocket, he's like, nah, Pikachu ain't no bitch.
Yep.
He basically he had an advantage for like 5 seconds, and then he was like,
I mean, honestly, I mean, Pikachu didn't really get knocked out. Like, Pikachu just kind of stumbled back and Ash just took him back. So, technically, Pikachu's still in the battle.
we're gonna run this by the Pokemon review board. We need answers, damn it.
Well, because, I mean, they have a referee, and the referee did not say Pikachu was unable to battle.
This is true, and this is a referee at Faulkner's gym, so you would think he might be in somebody's pocket. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's that far.
So Pikachu didn't get knocked out. It just got like knocked back, and Pikachu's like, okay, this Pidgeot is way too powerful for me right now. I need to go and catch my breath. Brock, where's the water? So, so he sends out Charizard, and Charizard is finally ready to battle. And Faulkner is sitting here, and he's like, now it's time for a battle. And we have Pidgeot and Charizard just doing a nice little stare down. And the referee goes, all right, and battle. And that's when the battle starts. I'm going to let you go over the next few attacks since I went over Pikachu's defeat.
So basically, Ash starts with telling Charizard to use Flamethrower. Pidgeot dodges it. Charizard is he's like hammering the Flamethrower button, and Pidgeot's just like he's once again he's got the ability advantage because as strong as Charizard is, I feel like he's slower than he potentially could be, but that could be chalked up to a number of things, chief among them being Charizard's unwillingness to listen, but that's for another discussion.
Yep.
So basically, Pidgeot uses Whirlwind, and he catches one of Charizard's flamethrowers and basically fires it back at him, which was a pretty slick move, and Charizard goes to the ground, and Pidgeot closes in, and he goes for a wing attack, and Ash tells Charizard to, fly to evade it, but one of Charizard's wings has been damaged. So
Pidgeot just swoops in and just smack directly.
Pidgeot's like, oh shit, blood in the water, and once again, Faulkner's like, okay, how reckless are you? He's talking to Ash. He's like, how reckless are you? You got a Charizard flying one-winged, and
he tells Ash, he said, just give up now, because it's a Pokemon trainer's duty to know when to back away from a fight.
He's like, you're being
reckless,
deliberately reckless. Yeah, he's like, you need to stop for the Pokemon's sake, and it's a little bit of two-pronged. It's Ash being stubborn. It's Charizard being stubborn.
Charizard ain't gonna back down from a fight and be defeated like that. We know how Charizard is.
And basically, Pidgeot this whole time has been trying to kind of stay ahead of Charizard.
Yes.
Like, so Charizard would be behind it, and then Pidgeot would quick get in front of, or well, behind / in front of, I mean, depending on your perspective. And Pidgeot tries that move again, and Charizard heads it off at the pass with a fire spin, and then
grabs the mess out of Pidgeot for its signature move,
the seismic toss, which I've got a soft spot in my mind for the seismic toss animation. And Pidgeot gets spiked to the ground and tries to get up, and the cheering section is sitting there going, Pidgeot, get up, Pidgeot, get up. And it does the standard anime thing of, and Faulkner gives Ash the badge, and he says, this battle has inspired him to work more and train harder, and he wishes Ash the best of luck. And
going forward,
we get the standard goodbye, Faulkner. I'll never see you again. And we finally catch up with Team Rocket, and we see that their balloon has crash landed, and they're smack in the middle of some angry Firo and Spiro.
Oh, deja vu. Just like back in the Kanto region, and not only are they trapped, but they're being pecked by all of these Spiro and Firo, and that is how we end this episode. So, like I said, this episode was kind of straight to the point. I mean, there's nothing else to say in regards to that. A really good episode, a really good gym battle to hammer out such a clear, straight edge episode, bro.
All killer, no filler.
Yeah. So, all right. So we can go straight on over to For Crying Out Loud. And bro, so before we get into this, so like we said, we're doing a double record. This is the 4th episode that we're doing today. This might be, it might be a lot more fun to review this episode than it was to like watch it. I mean, I did chuckle a little bit, and I was a little frustrated because I really thought Misty deserved to have this Maril, but it didn't happen. And how did you feel, bro?
I'm exactly the same, because I actually thought, I was like, does Misty get this Maril, like, at the end of the day? And then, I mean, spoiler alert, no. So I was a little disappointed, because, like, was I crazy? Does Misty end up with a Maril? I mean, I know I'm thinking about Tracy, but...
Does she get a Maril? I think she does way, way later in the series.
Okay, well, so if that's the case, then I just got lucky, because that's beyond my scope of watching. I mean, I know Tracy has.
Yeah, you know what? Let's find out, because I'm going to let's click on Misty real quick here on Bulbapedia, because this episode is going to go by pretty quick as well. So out of the entire Pokemon series, these are all the Pokemon that Misty gets. She has a Staryu, Starmie, Psyduck, Poliwag into a Poliwhirl into a Politoed. She has a Gyarados. She hatches an Azumarill, the baby form of Maril. She has a Clauncher. And then at the Cerulean Gym, she has a Godine, Horsey, Corsola, and a Casarin. And then she ends up releasing her Togetic after it evolves.
She's got the Ash Ketchum disease.
Well, okay. She doesn't release it just to release it. I mean, spoiler alert if anyone hasn't watched that. I've seen that episode. So her Togetic actually becomes the queen of Togepi's. In the Togepi world, and her Togetic becomes the big leader. So she releases her Togetic to be amongst all of the baby Togepis to kind of raise them, because the Togepis actually live in like kind of like an alter universe. Like it actually uses like some type of special like power to like go through like a warp thing or whatnot just to get over to where all the Togepis are. So it's a pretty cool episode.
So it was kind of like for the good of humanity kind of Kind of like Ash's Pidgeot.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, she, like I said, she didn't want to, but I mean, she kind of had to.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
All right. Well, I'll give you a pass.
All right. Let's see. Let's go ahead and so see. Look at this. Fun facts in the Pokemon world. You got it 2 episodes in a row. Nice little fun
Yeah.
facts.
Yeah.
All right. So go. All right. So we start this episode off with Brock kind of looking through like a little map. And he's like, Ash, he's like, I think the next place that we should go to is Azalea Town because that's where the next gym is. And he's like, okay, which way should we go? I say it's this way. And they go and climb up a hill. And they look over and they kind of see like a nice, like, what would you call this? Like a little like picnic like area, like a little river, lake.
It's a really like quiet, like scenic area. You know, a nice stream and some trees. It's really bright and green.
And of course, Brock ends up spotting a girl on top of the cliff.
Hey, in all fairness, he wasn't horny last episode, so he had it built up.
For real. And then Misty looks over and she sees a Meryl. And she's like, oh man, a water Pokemon. And I'm going to catch it.
My favorite.
Yeah, my favorite. I haven't seen one of those since we got rid of Tracy because we needed to get Brock back. So...
Because he's got some pending litigation against him and Professor Ivy, we think, and we're not talking about it, but, you know, something had to happen.
Okay, so here it is. So 2 episodes ago, we were using Pokemon logic, okay?
Right.
Misty throws the Pokeball over at the Meryl.
Right.
And the Pokeball goes, smacks Meryl right in the head. Doesn't open.
Couldn't have felt good.
No. Just throw, smack. And this Meryl just starts crying.
Ah! What a cutie! I'm gonna catch this one. Go, Pokeball, go! Meryl! Well, that didn't work very well, did it?
And then Ash notices that the Meryl has like a little bow on her tail, and Ash is like, "Oh, this Meryl must have a trainer." And Misty goes over and tries to hold Meryl, but Meryl looks right up at Misty and is like, "I don't like you," and then just lets out the biggest cry that it can let out. You want to go over the next part of this scene, bro?
So this is when, you know, Team Rocket must have been in their disguise bag the past couple episodes because they pop up as farmers and they're like, oh, you know, we'll give you a lift into the next town. And Ash is like, well, that sounds good. And as soon as they get into the vehicle, friggin' thing snatches up Pikachu and Meryl. And Team Rocket is basically able to like unhook the machine from the cab of the or whatever, and Team Rocket's doing their motto as they're getting away from the group, so like it actually fades away as they go down. There's like a dip in the hill, and they go down and then come back up, still doing it. It was kind of a cool. And Meryl is like, forget this, and like starts crying again. And
Meryl did a lot of crying in this episode.
poor Meryl had to be exhausted by the end of this. And Meowth is thoroughly distracted by this and like flashes the freaking truck into like a guardrail, and Team Rocket goes blasting off again, and blasting off Pikachu and Meryl roll down the hill, and Ash tries to play hero, but poor guy lands on a freaking tree like George of the Jungle. Brock has Togepi, thank goodness, because let's not forget that Togepi's just a baby. And Misty, she's in her like Laura Croft bag, and she gets Pikachu and Togepi, but she's unable to catch herself, and she falls into a river, and her and the two Pokemon get washed downstream. And this is when we finally, after all this commotion, we finally get the appearance of Meryl's trainer.
Yes.
And yeah.
How did she pronounce her name, bro?
Wilhelmina.
Wilhelmina. And Brock sees her and he rushes towards her, and she says that she's been looking for her marrow everywhere. And out of nowhere, we switch scenes and we go over, and Misty, Pikachu, and Meryl have washed back onto the land. And then Meryl looks over at Misty and is like, "Oh, I'm with you again." And then just starts to cry. And Misty has no chill. If she don't like something, she'll let you know. And she just straight up yells at Meryl, and she's like, "Will you stop crying?" And just like yells at the top of her lungs at this Meryl. And Meryl is like, "Oh, you want me to stop crying?" And then just starts crying even louder, and then just ends up running away. And it ends up dropping the little pink bow.
Yes.
That was on its tail. And then Misty goes and tries to get back up to Meryl, but Meryl is not like having it. It's just squirming. It doesn't want to be touched. And then after calming down, Misty suggests that Meryl, what would you say? She kind of says that Meryl is pretty sensitive or has sensitive ears, and
yeah, they basically, she says, "Well, you've got your sensitive hearing. Why don't you try to focus and maybe you can hear your trainer?" And Meryl's like, "That's the best bit of advice you've given me so far. Otherwise, you've been screaming at me." So Meryl's sitting there, and I think we've kind of got to assume this is a young Meryl.
yes,
But it's willing to try. It's willing to use its strategies to its advantage. And Misty gets impatient, and fucking Meryl just starts crying again, and then we're back over with Brock, Ash, and Wilhelmina, and this is when and keep in mind Brock has Togepi. And yes. Togepi goes over and finds Meryl's ribbon, and so they're like, "Oh, so Meryl was here, but obviously something might have happened." So Wilhelmina gets distressed, and then we this episode, not much happens, but it's got a breakneck pace, because we're back over with Meryl, and Meryl has run away, but she gets distracted by a Butterfree, and
yes,
and
tries to use water gun on the Butterfree, but then nails a Beedrill.
And obviously Beedrill don't play no shit, and this poor Beedrill's got a freaking, again, we're making assumptions, but
So Ash, Brock, and Wilhelmina end up hearing Pikachu scream from the side of the bee drill. And they miss Misty, Pikachu, and Meryl when they go running over. And things start to heat up when Misty and Pikachu are running and running and running, and they meet up to like a big, huge cliff. And Misty looks up and she's like, "Oh my gosh, we're done for. We can't climb that. How are we going to get out of this?" And the bee drill starts coming over and starts coming over. And Meryl let's see. Meryl is really, really, really scared and runs over to a tree and starts to cry. And Pikachu lets out a huge thunder shock on the bee drill, and the bee drills are like, "Crap, that hurts." And then they end up just flying away. Doug?
And basically, Ash, Wilhelmina, and Brock are in the same situation. And, you know, Meryl starts to calm down, but then gets scared by the lightning and, you know, takes off running again. And, you know, Misty's able to grab Meryl just in time to save her from getting struck, basically. And Misty's about to let Meryl have it for like the third time. And but Misty has the foresight to actually look down and go, "Oh, you're scared shitless. But mostly I'm happy that you're safe." And, you know, calms down, and that kind of lets Meryl actually start to kind of trust Misty, which is where I'm like, I don't know how I thought I had it in my head that like Misty was going to say something like towards the end where it's like, "I was with this Meryl all day and her and I," but then I was like, but that wouldn't be fair to Will, because Wilhelmina hasn't done anything wrong.
No, she just lost her Meryl.
She just lost a Meryl. Let's see. Misty and Pikachu and Meryl are crossing a rickety rope bridge, because of course there's a rickety rope bridge. Why wouldn't there be a bridge? And all of a sudden, frickin' Team Rocket pops up with like a mechanical grabber hand and is like, "How would you like it if we shot the bridge?" The freaking, you know,
and they start to have a Pokemon battle on top of the bridge. And let's see. So she grabs a hold of Meryl, and Meowth is forced to let go of the claw, sending Misty and Meryl into the river. And then Ash and Chikorita end up showing up, and when they show up, Chikorita ends up using its Vine Whip and ends up pulling up Misty and Meryl back into like the safe zone. And then Ash, Brock, and Wilhelmina are just standing there, and then Chikorita goes and uses Razor Leaf on the Team Rocket balloon, and it makes the balloon go and crash like right next to everybody. Pikachu does its Thunder Shock, and when Pikachu does Thunder Shock, it Thunder Shocks the mess out of the balloon and sends Team Rocket right back into the balloon. And the part of the balloon that blows the fire out ends up catching fire, and it explodes, and that is how Team Rocket ends up blasting off again.
So poor Team Rocket just hasn't had a good couple of episodes. They were basically an afterthought in the gym battle, right? Like it was 4 minutes or something. It wasn't.
Yeah, just about.
So, and they were basically a non-factor. You know, they got to dress up as farmers for a little bit, but I mean, it's Team Rocket, right? And it's early Team. Team
Yeah.
Rocket, this version of Team Rocket was never a threat.
No, not at all. So
So,
everyone is finally reunited, and Marrow goes over with Wilhelmina. And I mean, you would think that Misty would have some type of feelings like, man, I wanted to keep that Marrow, but why would Marrow want to stay with her when she's been yelling at it the whole time?
yeah, just because she had like a change of heart in the last like what, maybe 5-10 minutes they were together.
Yeah.
Um, and Wilhelmina's like, oh, you know, for all your efforts, why don't you just come stay at my lake house for a little bit and kind of recharge your batteries? But Ash is like, no, got to keep our head down and keep heading towards Azalea Town. I got to keep my hot streak going. And she gets in a limousine and she's driving off, and Meryl's in the back window. She's about to cry, but then she sees Misty and she waves goodbye, and Misty waves goodbye, and Ash is like, gee, Misty, it's almost like you got attached to that Meryl. Misty kind of has to play it off like, why would that happen? It's just a silly little Meryl.
And then that's the end of the episode.
That's the end of the episode, so kind of a nothing burger, but I mean, there was enough on the bone that was entertaining.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, yeah, a little bit. I mean, it was better to review the episode than it was to watch, because when I'm watching, I was like, okay, this episode is just very, very, very filler. And this is just a way for them to check mark that they used a Pokemon in an episode. That's how I saw it.
And it's kind of a kick in the nuts because you had the nonstop action of the gym battle last episode. And then it's like, no, we can't have too much momentum. We've got to slow down here.
Yeah.
What do you think this is, for goodness sake?
It's not like everyone is waiting for another Pokemon battle. So, I'm just joking, everyone. But all right, Doug.
You've only got so many of those. You can't blow your load every week.
Yeah, for real. So Doug, what would you give these episodes? Because I feel like I'm gonna be a little harsher on the second one, but what would you give the first one? The gym battle?
The first one, I can never completely knock an episode that gives respect to the fact that, hey, we're about to witness a gym battle.
Yeah.
And it's treated with respect, and Ash just doesn't get lucky. Like, he legitimately was learning as the battle was going. Yeah, so I'm not going to talk myself out of it. It's 4.5.
Okay. So 4.5 for the first one. I'll meet you with that one. Now this second one, I'm going to go first for this one. I'm going to give it about a 2.5. Because I mean, we know about Marrow. We've seen Marrow. We had a whole season with Marrow.
We had a whole third traveler with a Marrow.
Yeah. So Marrow's not new.
Yeah, and we didn't even get to see like an Azumarill or anything.
No.
I'm gonna give it a 2 because I didn't like all the. I just.
I mean, that was the point of the episode, bro.
I know, but I just didn't care for it.
All right. So that being said, yeah, it's been a good couple episodes, bro. And I'm glad we were finally able to get through it, and we muscled through, and it was a good couple shows. So and we hope you, the audience, enjoyed these shows as well.
Sometimes we design to take breaks. Sometimes breaks are kind of thrust upon us, and you always kind of have that feeling when you have a thought where it's like, oh, you got to get back to it. But once you get a couple episodes in, you're like, all right, muscle memory. It's like, this is, you have a couple good ones and you get some momentum and you're like, I could run up. Let's go.
So, yeah. So, all right. Anything else that you would like to add, Doug, before we start wrapping this up?
No, I I think we've had a very successful night, and I'm happy to put these episodes out there, and hope the fans can be satisfied with the knowledge that we're back.
Absolutely. So that being said, I'm going to do just a little bit of housekeeping. If you are listening to us on anything outside of Spotify, think about coming over to Spotify, because they help keep the lights on here and they keep the show rolling on a weekly basis. And we enjoy everyone here on Spotify. We enjoy you anywhere that you listen to us, because obviously we put our podcast everywhere, but we would like for you to come and listen to us on Spotify if you can. And if you have a little bit extra coin to throw our way, go ahead and join us on Patreon. For $5 you can listen to all these regular episodes absolutely ad-free. And if you have a little bit extra coin, for $10 per month, you get everything ad-free, including the movies that we do. So go ahead and subscribe on Patreon. And you could also, there's some slots that are open for you to become a guest on our show. So go ahead and subscribe if you would like to be a guest on the show. Make sure you read the instructions before signing up, everyone, because there are specific instructions as to what is needed to become a Patreon listener. There you go. I had to think of the right word, Doug. Jesus, it's like I talk for a living, right?
Well, it's almost been 3 hours. I mean, for goodness sake.
So, but yes, everyone, it is patreon.com/every Pokemon. And you go right up on there. There's a bunch of tiers for you. Like I said, you can listen to all of our shows ad-free and listen to the specials plus our movies. So that being said, I'm not going to ramble on anymore, because I feel like I'm rambling on way too much. Go ahead and say goodbye, Doug.
Goodbye, Doug.
And this is Professor Chris G telling all of you that we will see you on the next episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. Have a good night, everyone.